Dipak, Professor Kalra, why is health data so important?
Thank you, Michael. That's a really great question. I believe that health data is really underused and is a vital resource for all sorts of stakeholders in the health system. And I believe we need to do more to work together to put it to better use. Let's start with healthcare organizations, hospitals, GPs. They've got to study the data on the patients they treat in order to work out whether they are getting the best possible health outcomes they can. Are the care pathways optimized for these patients? Are there places where they could make improvements to those care pathways to make the process faster, more efficient, or more safe? They've got to learn from their data to find that out. So I'd love to encourage hospitals and GPs, study your data, but also collaborate with each other. Work across the city, the region, the country, or cross-border. Really learn together and share the knowledge so that everybody can improve the way they treat patients. And then we have to look at research. We need academic research, but we also need industry research. We must involve those actors in making good use of data so we can get new drugs, vaccinations like the COVID vaccines we've benefited from because we shared data with those companies, medical devices, algorithms, artificial intelligence. Many things are really ready to come our way. They're coming our way. We can accelerate them if we make more data available in trustworthy ways, of course. But let's please encourage all stakeholders to grab onto the opportunity from making better use of health data.
So, beyond embracement, what are the obstacles that you're seeing out there in the market?
Well, we do have some challenges with that vision of making better use of data, and one of them, honestly, is I think the data quality is not always good enough to use. We've got to encourage healthcare organizations and find incentives for healthcare organizations and for their very busy staff to invest that little more time in putting in high-quality, structured and coded data. And that means also making sure the systems they are using are smart and friendly and efficient so they can do that in a slick and speedy way. Then we've got to look at the reusability of that data. Interoperability standards are critical. We still have an under-adoption of the standards that are already out there. We've got to look again at why are there not enough standards being adopted in procurements, in systems, because interoperability standards are essential if we're going to join up the dots to give continuity of care, of course, to patients, but really learn from that data at scale. And then the third big topic is trust. We have an overarching General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, but we have to help society to know and to believe with confidence that when we're using data, when we're sharing data with other actors, that we do so upholding the GDPR, because we know that the public are concerned that their privacy is protected when data are shared and used, for example, with industry, for example, for research. So we have to make sure we uphold those standards and do them well. The final element of trust is that the purposes for which we use the data have to be in society's interests. That means we need to make sure that when we put data to use with public or private players, that they are going to be using that to innovate for things that become back translated into healthcare as new drugs, new devices, etc., new knowledge. We don't want to see the data being used for marketing or other purposes, and I think everybody's on board with that. But we have to lock in those promises and make those promises to the public.
Does the cross-border exchange of data add any challenges in this setting?
I think cross-border within Europe surprisingly doesn't introduce a huge amount of challenge, because from a data protection point of view, we're all operating under the same GDPR. And I think for interoperability, we're almost always promoting the adoption of international standards. So the ability to move data across a national border is not really any more difficult than it is to move it across a local border. And I would say getting the data out of a healthcare organization into another one or into a local research partner is already the biggest challenge. Once you can do that, I think cross-border is not such a big added burden.